Good Sunday afternoon. It is June 12th, 2022. It's been a while since I've been on here. It's been, obviously life with daddyhood takes over and work life and everything else takes over your life. Sometimes it's a little difficult. I don't think I've spoken on here since football. You wonder why I get no views on here? Sometimes despite the fact that I stumble like this sometimes. Anyway, so diverting away from football. Diverting away from baseball, we go into hockey. Something my 5-year-old son has actually picked up with quite nicely. My son loves hockey. Anyway, I want to speak as a New York sports fan. And I think I speak for New York sports fans. I know there's rivalries like the Rangers and Islanders, the Mets and the Yankees, the Knicks and the Nets, to an extent, the Jets and the Giants. But I think I'm going to speak on behalf of Ranger and Islander fans. For someone who actually, cheers for both because they do represent, where I come from. I know, please, I know, I understand, like, what kind of fan am I? I get it, okay? I think as a New York hockey fan, I got to say this. I am sick and tired of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, this is 3 years in a row that the Tampa Bay Lightning have advanced to the Stanley Cup Finals at the expense of New York, of New York sports. They did to the Islanders the last 2 years in a row. Even though pandemic shortened season and all, who cares? Playoffs are a new thing. And then you had the Rangers. They broke the Islanders' heart in the bubble. 6 games, the overtime finisher. Then the 1-0 game last year, and the goal came on a shorthanded. The only goal in the game came shorthanded. But then you have this series against the Rangers. It's just disappointing. It's disappointing in the sense that the Rangers, it looked like they were. I understand the Rangers were a tired team. I mean, they came back from 3-1 down against Pittsburgh in the first round and won the series in overtime in Game 7. They were down 2-0 in Carolina, 3-2, forced the Game 7 and said, oh, Carolina's going to win. They don't lose in the playoffs at home, blah, blah, blah. And the Rangers went and pummeled them in Game 7, thus advancing them to Tampa against a well-rested Tampa Bay Lightning team who was lucky to get out of the first round against Toronto. And it's like I still say, message to the Maple Leafs with all your depth on offense, you had 2 chances, one job to dethrone the champions, and then you can sit there with these playoffs and say, what if? But no, of course not. Because classic Toronto Maple Leafs, they can't win a playoff round to save their lives. Let Tampa off the hook. They then dispatched the Florida Panthers. Best team in hockey all year. League's best record. They were more finesse, but didn't have that thing to finish the job. Just didn't have that it factor to finish the job. But hey, congratulations. They won a playoff round for the first time in, 26 years or something like that? I was in elementary school. And then the Rangers and the Lightning. The Rangers took it clearly, removed from the Carolina series. Took a well-rested Lightning team and beat them in the first game soundly. You're like, whoa, okay. Rangers, let's send them out. Game 2. They hung on, but they won. So they're flying down here to Florida up 2-0. Like, what is going on here? Tampa Bay, who they tend not to lose after a loss. It's almost like if you lose 2 in a row in a playoff series to the Tampa Bay Lightning, you're screwed. But not these Rangers. You're like, oh man, this young Ranger team who no one expected to go anywhere and should have been out in 5 games in the first round. Look at them now. Oh my goodness. And then the turning point in the series happened. They're up 2 goals to nothing in Game 3 of this series. 2 power play goals. They're like, real goalie and everything. Now, Ranger fans got cocky because, Igor Shesterkin, who, by the way, wow. I mean, he was fantastic. It was fantastic. You can't pin this on him. He might be the second coming of Lundqvist. It seems like there was that continuity Once Henrik was on his, once Lundqvist was on his, his last legs, and it was, he was something. Igor Shesterkin, and I think we have continuity in New York when it comes to goaltending. But, they start, fans at the Garden, Igor's better. Like, the kid barely has had a year to prove himself. Vasilevsky, what is he, year 3, I think it is? Something like that, for him with Tampa Bay. And it's like, everyone's saying, well, the Rangers face 2 backup goaltending. I mean, yes. But at the same time, they still struggle to get out of those rounds. But to go up 2-0 against a starting goaltender, one of the best in the league, world class, in Andre Vasilevsky, and to be up to, you're like, oh my goodness, they're up 2-0 in Game 3, and you're like, you're sitting there like, okay, like, oh my goodness, who is this team? And you're like, Tampa Bay, this isn't like them. And then Tampa Bay, sometimes you get so caught up you forget what they are. Okay, Tampa Bay Lightning, what I've learned, especially watching the Islanders series last couple of years, they will answer you. And they will answer you fast. Okay? I mean, when they played in the bubble a couple of years ago, 6 games, the Islanders scored first in like 5 of them, and Tampa Bay usually had an answer for them like right away. So, that's what happened. Tampa Bay came back. Oh, and let's not forget this. The Tampa Bay Lightning, also a clutch team. Okay, they're also a clutch team. They score on you in the waning moments, of a game. In this series, the 4 losses that the Rangers had, okay, the Rangers lost 4 games in a row after winning the first 2. Okay, 3 of them were in the waning moments of the third period. I mean, could it be more devastating? I mean, could it be too much more of a kick in the balls? Tampa Bay coming back. The Rangers thought they could sit back on a 2-1 third period lead, came back and bit him in the butt. Winning goal scored with less than a minute left. Like, just begging to get to the locker room and get to overtime. Game 4, they were never in. Game 5, 1-1. They battled. They actually scored first in the game. They battled and battled. And it seemed like, hey, here we go. Game 5 was like, whoever wins this game is likely going to win the series. And then Andre Palat. And we've seen it before with Andre Palat. If you remember 2015 Game 7. Gets the winning goal with a minute 50 to go in the third in Game 5? And it broke the tie, and then they followed with an empty net. It's heart-wrenching. Last night, Rangers trailed 1-0 through a good chunk of the game, and they finally broke with a power play goal. And by the way, their power play was pretty darn lethal throughout these playoffs. Frank Vetrano, a pickup, knowing, we're poised to make a run here, ties the game off a face-off, evening the game. And then, but obviously when it came to the series, asking the Rangers to obviously hold serve was asking too much, because 21 seconds later, speaking of Tampa Bay answering the bell like they always do in a prompt manner, 21 seconds later, Tampa Bay had the lead again. Steven Stamkos, second of the game, longtime captain. And it was just, and that was it. And may I say this with the Rangers in this Tampa Bay, they were evenly played teams, but the one thing the Rangers could not do was get the puck in the net 5-on-5. In the 3 games they played at the Amalie Arena, the 4 goals, they scored 4 goals. And all of them were on the power play. I mean, seriously. None of them were on even strength. They were all on the power play. That's ridiculous. It's like, how do you, that's not going to, the power play is always not going to be there for you. It's not. They were lucky they weren't shut out, because Tampa Bay had them outplayed. And Vasilevsky is known to shut out the opponent in series-clinching games. So they were lucky. Incredulously lucky. But, there's a lot of fans here saying, Oh my goodness, they brought us further than we could ever have imagined. A young team and everything else. They were tired, 20 games in 40 days and everything else. Yeah, the schedule was a little bit unfair because they were playing literally 2 days after the prior series, yes. But if you were going to lose in 6 games, if you're going to lose a 6-game series, it hurts to win the first 2 and then to go down in 4 straight. It almost feels like the first 2 games were an exhibition, and then the Tampa Bay Lightning flexed their muscle and just dispatched the Rangers. Boom, 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 boom. Good night. That's what it felt like. I may be bitter, and I hope Colorado beats the pants off Tampa Bay. I'm sick and tired of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I sound bitter. I'm bitter. I'm from New York. Yeah, I can live in Florida. I live an hour and a half east of Tampa. But you know what? I'm bitter. Okay? I'm just bitter. I am so sick and tired of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I play in this state where no one cares about hockey. Does anyone here in the Orlando area care about hockey? No. Do I often see Tampa Bay Lightning gear around here? No. So it's just, But anyway, I mean, listen, yeah, the Rangers made a good run. They took we got to they're at the Eastern Conference Finals, further than imagined. They've taken 2 trips in the last, how long? Tampa Bay is responsible for the last 2 trips and beating them. They played 20 games. 7-game series can wear you out, and they got to 6. But it still doesn't matter. The fact is, today, they're not playing hockey. They're not playing any meaningful hockey until October. That's what matters, and is that they fell short of the goal. Their mantra was no quit in New York, and okay, so they didn't quit. They did go down swinging. And they played Tampa. They did play Tampa pretty evenly in these games. It's just you had experience of a proven team that's been there versus youth. They just have a coach who's been there. So it was a learning experience, and hopefully they'll be back. I mean, we said the same thing about the Islanders. Proven coach, Stanley Cup winning coach. They missed the playoffs for 1 year. Oh, nope, we got to fire him. Which is exactly what happened. And you sit there and wonder, why would you, are you crazy? That's creating life on Long Island, right? When you have an old senile general manager who's quick to give people the thumb. And in his history, sometimes it's worked. Lou Lamoriello in his days with GM in New Jersey. But nonetheless, still, I mean, it's a tough day. It's a tough pill to swallow. A New York hockey fan that is just so sick and tired of Tampa Bay. Sick and tired of it. It's just ridiculous. We want Tampa. We're going to do it. We're finally going to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. And it just doesn't happen. And it's just some sort of heartbreaking way to go down. This time, win the first 2, lose a tough game 3 that was hard to swallow and just, in reality, didn't recover. And after game 3, the Tampa Bay Lightning had the Rangers right where they wanted them. And it was just, yeah. It's hard to state words right now. I mean, obviously there's moves to address. Gerard Gallant, I don't understand why he couldn't explain in his press conference last night why he decided to sit Capo Caco with the season on the line for a clearly injured and hobbled Ryan Strome. Ryan Strome, who seemingly is allergic to putting the puck in the net, especially when it's wide open. He's seemingly, just look at Game 5 when he had a wide open net and he missed it. There were other chances in this series. Game 3, the Rangers had a chance to be up 3-0 in that Game 3. On a shorthanded breakaway, they should have buried it and it went off the post. Big difference. It's just, it's sad. Like I said, it's a tough day. It's a very, very, very tough day. The Tampa Bay Lightning. Hope Colorado beats the pants off them. I really do. It's been 21 years for the Colorado Avalanche. You know, they're finally back. You know, everyone says the Western Conference wasn't that strong, and so Colorado was 12-2. They've only lost 2 games in these playoffs. 12-2, 2 sweeps. St. Louis gave them the best effort in 6 games. All else, they swept Nashville and they swept Edmonton. Like, unreal. So, see what happens. Colorado, they finally might give Tampa a run for their money. They finally might be that team. We'll see. You know, depth versus, but they say Colorado is Swiss cheese on defense, and they really don't have goaltending. I mean, that might be their disadvantage. You know, which is true. You know, McKinnon and Landeskog and, you know, whoever else. You know, I don't think Nazem Kadri is back. You know, whatever, but still. I don't really follow the Western Conference like I do the Eastern Conference, but, you know, I'm sure my son will when he gets older and starts to really understand the sport. I remember there was a time where, back in the late 90s as a kid, when I used to know all the players because I had the NHL 96 and 97, you know, back in the day when I used to know, I would usually memorize all the players on every team. I remember those days. I remember it. Good times. Good times. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to shut this for now. I know I shouldn't be doing this while I've been driving. Bad. Don't worry, I'm all focused on the road. That's why I'm not even looking at the camera. But, and anytime I did look, I was at a red light. I can assure you that. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to sign off for now. You know, next year, Rangers, there's always next year. If there's number one thing I hate saying is there's always next year. Unfortunately, fans have been saying this for the last 28 years and counting. And then, of course, Ranger haters, 82 years, 1 cup, and it was bought by the New York Oilers, you know, etc., etc., etc. You know, the Islanders with the new coaching staff this upcoming year, who knows? You know, just when you think there's finally professional hockey coming back, you know, to Long Island, new arena and all, you know, the Islanders were put in a really bad predicament this past year, you know, with, you know, they just, you know, 13 games to start the, 13 games on the road to start the year because they just had to get UBS Arena ready. And then they, you know, half the team was with COVID, and they made them play like their AHL players. But yet, when other teams came down with COVID cases, I'll bet you they stopped the games, putting them in an unfair predicament. You know, they just got hot a little too late into the season. But nonetheless, it's off to a new year. Now that it's June, it is off to baseball. And let me say this, my daughter, my 3-year-old daughter, she loves baseball. Oh man, she can name. You give her cue of who is who on the Mets. Oh, she'll name it. Oh yes. She example. I tell her who Pete Alonso is. You've got Pete Alonso, and what does Pete Alonso do? Bye baseballs. That's what he's known for. So she's learned some players on the Mets. It's kind of cute. But one of these days, I'm going to make her a real baseball fan. She loves baseball. But anyway, that being said, I've bantered on here long enough. I'm signing off. It's, you know, nice to see all of you out there. For those who actually care to listen to this, I've bantered, I stumble. You know, I try to help my speaking when I do this stuff. But anyway, deuces for now, folks.